Welcome to another session of putting, and today we're going to talk about the line reading. So, the first method I'm going to talk about is called clock method. So, in a clock method, it's basically if you imagine this is the green and this is uphill this way. So, this is a downhill, and as you go up, there is a slope up there. So, you can see the hole is above, and where I'm standing is pretty much below. So, the downhill, if you imagine that as a 6 o'clock and imagine the uphill as a 12 o'clock and the hole in between. So, if you imagine there, so this is a straight line, basically there is no curve in between. So, this is a zero line without any curve. So, we are standing on a 6 o'clock and on the up it will be a 12 o'clock. So, from here, if I talk, so you can see if I just make a putt from here to the hole, you won't see any line. So I just missed it to the right. Pretty much I've hit it to the right, but there is no line in it, so there is no ball curving. Now there'll be, as soon as you move from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock or from backwards to from 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you will see curvature increasing. So if I move this side, which is here, and I putt from here, the curvature is going to be more, the most of the curvature is going to be from this side. And if I go to the other side, and it's going to behave the opposite, where the curve will be on this side, the maximum. So as soon as you go closer to the zero line, the curve is going to reduce. So as soon as you go closer to a zero line, the curve is going to reduce. So either you go towards 6 o'clock or either you go towards 12 o'clock. So you need to make sure that how closer you are from the zero line. If you can identify how closer you are from the zero line, you can identify how much the curve is going to be. So for example, if from 6 o'clock, if I'm there towards 7 o'clock, definitely the curve will be least from 6 o'clock to moving from the 7 o'clock. And if you go from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, the curve will be the most. So speaking of that, the ball always curves towards 6 o'clock. For example, if I put a bucket of water, if I just throw it up, you know that the water by gravity is going to come towards the downhill. So everything is moving towards 6 o'clock. So let's, for example, if that's 12 o'clock and that's 3 o'clock and this is 9 o'clock. So if I go towards 3 o'clock, the ball is going to curve from the right and coming back towards the hole. So you know that it's going to be a right to left curve. If you go towards 9 o'clock, so you know that the hole is basically 6 o'clock is this way, right? So you know that the ball is going to curve from the left and coming back to the ball. So you need to aim further left. And as you go towards 12 o'clock, everything is going to be the same as you move towards 6 o'clock. So every ball is moving towards 6 o'clock. So you need to aim accordingly, and the curve will depend upon how far you are from the zero line. So this is clock method of reading the line. And how do you see which is a zero line and which is not? So the best way to identify is just to take a walk around the green and stand towards the hole. So take a couple of steps and see which side would be the zero line. So if you stand exactly to the zero line and spread your feet, you will probably feel equal pressure on both of the feet. You'll see from my center body weight, if I stand around 9 o'clock position, so if I just stand normal, I feel more pressure on my right feet than my left feet. Because of my weight, I'm more lean towards the right foot because of the slope. So you need to make sure with the pressure technique, you need to identify approximately where would be the zero line, and from zero line wherever you move and how much pressure is changing. So once you find out, okay, now the pressure is pretty much equal. So according to where the ball is, you know how much it's going to curve. So this is pressure technique from both the foot. When you step up, you know, okay, which side you feel more pressure and which side not. So this is an effective way of identifying the zero line. So you pretty much stand with your face towards the hole. So if you face towards the hole and just tap with your feet, from the pressure of the feet, you're going to know which probably would be a zero line. Then the other factor which describe the curvature of the ball is basically how much is the tilt. If the tilt is more, so you can see so if the ground, so let's say if the ground is tilted more, so the curvature will be more, definitely, because the more sideways you go, the ball is going to curve the most because of the slope. So if I increase the degree of the slope, the ball is going to increase. Second factor which affects the curvature is how far you are from the hole. So on a zero line, as I said, it's just the speed which is changing, but not the curvature. But if you go sideways and if you increase the distance, the further you go from the hole, the more the ball is going to curve. So if you hit it from a shorter distance, imagine a 6 foot versus a 12 foot, the ball is going to curve more from a 12 foot than a 6 foot. So whenever you're practicing, so for example, how are you going to do it, right? So when you go to the range and you go to a putting green like this, a practice putting green like this, so put a couple of balls, let's say put about 6 balls around the hole, pretty much same distance, about between 6 to 10 feet, and just surrounding the hole. For every ball, go at the back, check the pressure, which way do you think it's more pressure. So if one side is more pressure, you know that the slope is going to curve that way. Try to find out the zero line first. So once you identify the zero line, just change those balls from a colored ball, so you know that that's a zero line, and see which ball, when you go through around the balls, which ball curves more and which ball curves less, and just practice a couple of different slopes to see which slopes, where do you see the balls curving more. Definitely it's more of a practice. It's more of, there is no one way to just identify, there is no calculation to it, so you have to practice it. The more you're going to practice putting, the more you're going to know how much the ball is going to learn, and it will improve your line reading. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to channel Golf Out of Box.